It's 6 o'clock on a Thursday night, and guess who's back? Me. I'm here. Can we hear me? Is this on? Bobby Gray here, founder, fearless leader at TEXITcoin, buttoning up a couple more buttons on the shirt, reminding himself that he is not on the beach in Thailand or Singapore anymore. It's time to maybe put on some closed-toed shoes and buckle down and get to work. Hey, look, it's good to be back. I'm really proud of our team. I've got a lot on my plate right now, and I've asked our Rangers to step up and host these Thursday night calls because there's a lot of great variety out there. And so many people are able to share their version of our story. And these versions all resonate different ways with different people. I like my version the best. I would say that I really like Byron's version, and I invited him to come on tonight's call and present, but he's traveling right now. So he's out. Hopefully, he'll be here next week. We thought Davy Jones was going to present tonight. Tonight's the first night of his Locktoberfest event. I will be there tomorrow. Can you grab me some water? So it's me. I'm back. You're stuck with me for the next 30, 45 minutes while I give you guys the quick introduction to TEXITcoin and an update on what's happening these days in the world of all things TXC. So thanks for joining me. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, we're not going to get a lot into Q&A on these calls. It's more of an introduction. Hopefully, we've got a lot of new people joining us on these calls that are eager to hear more about this amazing thing that is popping up now all over the world. Think about it, guys. We probably have more than 600 billboards up today all across the country. We're live now with our advertising in Dallas Fort Worth Airport, the number one passenger airport in the country. We're live in Houston Intercontinental, Houston Hobby. We're live now in Miami, Orlando. We're live in LAX. I mean, it's getting bigger as time goes by. We've got wrapped cars terrorizing the streets in lots of cities, and so it's fun. It's all going, I'd like to think, exactly as we planned and intended, but to see it actually manifest is really encouraging, really surprising, and very awesome at the same time. So what is it? It's called TEXITcoin. It's an original layer one cryptocurrency that's mined in Texas exclusively. That's number one thing that makes us different from everything else in the crypto space that's out there. And there's a lot of stuff out there in crypto. Some of it is even good and worthwhile. But TEXITcoin is the one that's mined exclusively in Texas, using Texas land, Texas energy, Texas workers to get these rigs set up and working properly. And so, if you need to think about what we are and draw some comparisons, we're just like Bitcoin. We're just like Litecoin. In fact, we like to kind of describe ourselves as a Bitcoin time machine. We're the guys that didn't forget about how important honest money is and how great of a financial technology Bitcoin is. This technology that gives us the ability to send value back and forth to each other quickly, inexpensively, without having to go through a bank or financial institution, with a currency that can't be artificially manipulated or counterfeited. That's a powerful thing, largely misunderstood. But cryptocurrency at the core is a financial technology that should not be ignored. I went to a great symposium last night at SMU. That's a leading university here in North Texas. And it was put on by the Texas Stock Exchange, or TEXI as they call it. Sounds awfully familiar. And there were 300 people there in that room listening and tuning in to the director of marketing. And can you hit that door for me? The director of, I don't know if it's director of marketing or the person that's in charge of onboarding new small and medium cap companies to list on their exchange. But a lot of the questions that came from the field were all about crypto and blockchain technology. People kept saying again and again, we know crypto is the future. We know blockchain's coming. How is your exchange prepared to deal with the future of money? They didn't have a good answer to it, which I think is really great. Because what the old dinosaurs do is they stick their head in the sand and they pretend as much as they can that this digital future, this future where everyone has a bank account in the palm of their hands, everyone has the ability to print money, from an app, they pretend like that's not going to affect them. And to a certain extent, they're right. One of the answers to the questions was like, as soon as our institutional partners request blockchain technology to be integrated into our business model and service features, we'll do it. And they haven't asked for that, nor will they, because they're dinosaurs, because they've been doing it a particular way for so long. They have no incentive to change that. They have no incentive to improve. But what they're not paying attention to is that young people today are calling BS on this whole financial system. They know they're being stolen from, they know they're being lied to, and they're not putting up with it anymore. And they're coming up with their own high tech solutions to work around these legacy systems and infrastructure. And that was really cool. But the point is that there's a financial technology at the core of cryptocurrency that we've largely ignored and misunderstood. And it's now time that we need to like take the blinders off, get off the sidelines, and inquire and start to understand it, start to peel back the layers of this. And my belief is that if we do, we've got an upside. Anytime you could take a great new emerging technology, you've got something that's cool. You got something that people are interested in. You got something that is probably going to be lucrative and profitable for the early adopters and for the ones that understand it and put it to use first. Then it takes years, 10, 20, 30, 40 years for the rest of civilization to catch up. But the guys that understand this stuff in the beginning get the lion's share of the profit. And when you think about the fact that it took 20 years from 1913 all the way to a 1933 executive order for the US dollar to get traction here in America, 20 years. You can see how we're just now at the beginning of this cryptocurrency digital money revolution. And that's an exciting thing because it means that we're still early to the conversation. So TEXITcoin is a layer one cryptocurrency. Don't worry too much about the terminology. There's a lot of mumbo jumbo out there and it's easy to get lost in it. But just think about how we're picking up where Bitcoin left off 10, 12 years ago, back when Bitcoin actually cared about this mission of digital, decentralized, peer-to-peer currency, money that was for the people, money that's by the people, not by the banks, not by the hedge funds, not by the capital markets. It's by individuals. And that's what made Bitcoin so exciting. It's got kind of way off of its target path. And that's the opportunity that I saw to bring back all the best parts about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and package them in a made in America version, built strategically, specifically right here in Texas. That's what we're doing. We've been doing it now for 81 weeks here. We're wrapping up week 81 as we speak. That's more than a year and a half. Is it a long enough track record to prove without a shadow of a doubt that we're not a scam? No, but it's a really great start. And following through on our mission of building the mine, we had a big update in the last couple of days in that department. We've got more coming soon of paying commissions through the affiliates that are helping us crowdsource this hash power to make this mine big and impressive, and promoting our coin. You can see real-time results of all three of those things. And it's a long track record. It's long enough to show that we've done a good job so far. Now, does past performance indicate what's going to happen in the future? No. But it at least gives you a little bit of an idea, at least a little bit of a hint as to where we want to go. We want to continue to grow our community. We want to continue to put money into advertising and promotion. We want to continue to build out our mining sites. We've got lots of news coming there for the Tuesday Night Miners. We're not going to get into it too much today, but we're making big steps forward now. The momentum is increasing, and now we're getting to the fun part. And so that's what we've got. That's what we created a year and a half ago, a little more than that. It was just a idea up here. Then it was a twinkle in my eye, January 26th of 2024, when I mined the first block in my spare bedroom. By early April, I was comfortable enough with what I created to invite my friends and my family members to join me on this journey. It started small in my garage, in a loud, hot garage full of these old L3 dusty miners, full of bird feathers and chicken wings and all kinds of goofy stuff. 120 degrees later, we said, this isn't the way to do it. We must be getting something wrong. We got to use the latest and greatest tools, change the strategy, switch over to immersion cooling. We've got L7s from Bitmain. Now we're running L9s from Bitmain, and we're building the mine. We're following through. We're delivering on these promises. November of last year, we hit profitability. That gave us the ability to change our conversation and start talking about marketing and promotion. Back in the early days, we were just trying to figure things out and see what was possible. Then we hit November. We realized we got something really significant here. It's starting to take off. And now we've got a little bit of money left over at the end of the month to start promotion. Let's put some events on the calendar. Let's go out to some fairs. Let's go out to some coin shows. Let's put a little bit of money into advertising. Let's let up a billboard and see what happens. Well, it all worked. And so that money grew from a teeny tiny little bit to where we are today, where we now have more than $5 million in liquidity. We're getting ready to add our next $5 million of liquidity, which is an interesting thing because when that happens, we shift the market. We give it a nudge. We're going to talk more about that in just a moment. But that's what happens next. And we've hit those goals every month in, month out, because of you guys, because you understand what we're doing. You see the dots that we have. If we build a mine this big, we'll have a coin that's worth this much. It's a pretty simple statement. It's a pretty reasonable projection. If we build a big mine, we'll have a valuable coin. If we build the largest privately owned mine in the world, we'll have a top 100 coin. Pretty reasonable. These are the dots. And if you guys see the dots like I see the dots and you decide to help me connect those dots, I'll pay you a commission. I'll give you extra hash power. There are rewards and bonuses there. And our system grows and our community grows and our mind grows and our cash flow grows and our marketing and advertising and our liquidity grows. And all of these things become a self-reinforcing cycle, this positive feedback loop, as we call it. And that's the cycle that we're in right now. As long as we continue to do a good job, we have no expectation whatsoever that any of that will change, and we'll motor on towards our goals by February of 2026. That's TEXITcoin in a nutshell. So, I know a lot of people are highly sensitive about the price of TXC. I'm not. I pay attention to it now because there are a lot of things in our business that are connected to the price of the coin, but I never really paid much attention to the price of the coin because I knew that ultimately the price of the coin wouldn't tell the story until much, much, much later. What that means is like, hey, we're doing the work now. And we have no reason whatsoever to believe that the world is going to take our project seriously and decide to trade our digital asset back and forth until they believe us. Well, at what point will the world believe us? Well, some point, but not yet. So don't worry about the price. The goal has always been to do enough, whether it's build the community or build the mine or promote the coin, to the point where the world decides that we should be invited to join, the top 100 largest cryptos in the industry. Okay, so how does that happen? When does that happen? Well, we came up with a strategy that's different from everything else that's out there in the crypto space. And I call this strategy the path to 16. And the strategy started out as like a hand sketched little note in my spiral bound notebook. And, that circulated on the forums and stuff for a while. And then we started to actually put it into this document with, more specifics, more backup and more justification for what this strategy is. And so I want to talk about this strategy real quick because it's very relevant for where we are in the conversation today. But I want to talk about phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4. Because we're not in this for 16 anymore. I said, if we build this mine, we can get this thing to $1 billion value. If we do it by February, that puts us at about $16 a coin. That was the idea a year and a half ago, 81 weeks ago. It's not really relevant anymore for a couple of reasons. Number one, back then it was just an idea. We had nothing to back it up. It was just one guy that did a good job fixing the road and sold a bunch of silver coins and testified in Congress. It was just one guy's idea. Well, it's something different now. It's different because it's got the power of a community behind it. It's got the power of, this 81-week history. It's got the power of cash now. So it's got a lot more going for it. And so therefore 16 isn't really realistic today. But I want to go through 16 real quick just to show you the basics of where we started the conversation. And so I published this article on the website. It's called The Path to 16. And it explains that, look, we got to figure this out, and we only have each other to do it. We don't have the force of government behind us. We don't have a specific commodity. We don't have any rules. There's no playbook. What the other guys have always done is pump and dump. That's what they've got. They've got scarcity and they've got pump and dump. Pay the influencer, pump, 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 beginning hands exit, people get rich, everyone else is angry. That's their playbook. We're not doing that. We knew from day one that that was not going to be our plan. We didn't want it. It wasn't ever the idea. So if we take that away, what is the plan? Well, when I started the American Open Currency Standard back in 2008, I was relying on this thing called the Liberty Dollar Move Up Schedule. And the Liberty Dollar started 10 years before I started the AOCS. And it was the inspiration and the model that I borrowed from with a couple changes to get the AOCS started. And it basically had this connection between the face value of a coin traded in the marketplace and the commodity value. There was always a gap there. And that gap existed to create an incentive for people to actually use the currency. See, the biggest thing that you have with alternative currencies, especially valuable ones, is that people hoard them. They go, why would I spend a silver coin? I'm going to spend the dollars, which I think are going down in value. And I'm going to save the silver, which I think is going up in value. And because of that, the silver gets hoarded. Think about it today with digital currency, crypto. Who's spending Bitcoin today? The world thinks of Bitcoin today as digital gold. So people are spending the USDT or the USDC if they're spending cryptos at all. And they're holding on to their Bitcoin because they think that the Bitcoin's going to go up in value. That's real good and well for a collectible or for a store of value, but it's not great for a currency. And so in order to offset that, we've got to give people an incentive. And so the Liberty Dollar created this move up schedule that kept the value of the currency in excess of the commodity value so that there would always be an incentive for people to use the currency. So that's where I started with the AOCS back in 2008. And that's formed the basic foundation for the same thing we're doing here. We've got to move up schedule. If we have this much liquidity, our target price for the coin is this much. If we have this much liquidity, our target price is this much. If we have $1 million of liquidity, our target price is this much. So we've got this disciplined move up schedule that allows us to say, if our liquidity is this much, we're going to try to test the price of the market at this price. Okay, well, how do we get the liquidity? We have to grow. So every time somebody joins us as a miner, we grow the mine, we add to the marketing budget, and we add to the liquidity pool. So that's it. So our growth is directly related to our liquidity. Okay, so as we continue to grow, we continue to put together a liquidity pool. And that liquidity pool, once it reaches a certain level, gives us the ability to test the market price at a level that we've predetermined and see if the market supports it. Here's the deal. We've done it, 11 times so far? We've always been ahead of schedule, number one. And number two, we've never actually had to use the reserve liquidity. Think about that. We're ahead of schedule. And the reserve liquidity that we're setting aside to support the market has gone untouched. How do I know that? Because I can prove it to you. If you go down here and you look at our liquidity reserves, I stuck $1 million USDC on a cold storage wallet. And to this very moment, there's $1 million USDC. You can even go back at when I did it. You can look at all the transaction transfers, 25,000, 225,000, 100,000. These are fake, just so you know, as you're looking at these things. These are real, 150, 45. Look at that, all the way back 148 days ago. On May 20th, I dropped $250,000 in here to start building out our first liquidity reserve. And still to this day, no transactions out, 100% transactions in, a cool $1 million in USDC sitting there untouched from day one. When was the last time you saw $1 million? Maybe you walked through the casino one time and they had that little cage there that said you could win this, but probably not. That's our liquidity reserve right there for us to all look at it and admire. But it just wasn't that, because we knew that if we wanted to go to the next level, we couldn't stop at that million. So we said, let's put 1 million Bitcoin on the next liquidity reserve. Today, Bitcoin's down a bit. We got 963,000. So maybe I got to top that up. But there's 8.9 Bitcoin sitting right there as our liquidity reserve, and it hasn't been modified since July 26th. Let's go back and take a look at our chart. No, wrong page. July, we said we are going to need to have 2 million. We added it in July ahead of schedule. We don't stop there. We had $1 million of Ethereum. Where are we at on Ethereum? We're down 41,000. The market's down. We're going to have to top that up. But same thing. We've only ever had transactions coming in. Where are my inbound Ethereum transactions? Should be over there. 4 internal transactions. There you go. ETH. And we've never had to touch it. And now we've got 16 kilograms of gold. What's gold worth today? Anybody know? Kitco Gold. Kitco, the leading index for gold prices, says that right now gold is at, come on, give me a number, 43.57. That's per troy ounce, 43.57. That's a lot. Wow. Times 32.15 troy ounces per kilo. Gold is at $140,077 per kilo, and we got 16 of them on standby. That's $2.2 million of gold, more than enough to offset the Bitcoin and Ethereum that have dropped a little bit. But that's what we're doing. We're creating a basket of liquidity, highly liquid assets that if we need to support the market at a price that we think we should be able to support, we can. And we've touched zero of it so far. It's a beautiful sign of a healthy project. But we're not stopping there. Remember, this strategy that we put together is designed to take us up to 16 through this principled move up schedule that takes into consideration not just the work that I did with the open currency standard, but also this new thing called Metcalfe's law. The value of a network is proportional to the square of the number of users. Think about the telephone. When the telephone came out, the guy that invented it said, I got this telephone. And depending on how old you are, you either do this when you're describing the telephone or you do this. I still do this. And he said, I got a telephone. I can call exactly nobody. And then he said, I should make another one, give it out to my friend. Now I got 2 phone calls. I can call him. He can call me. But we added one more person to that. I can call them. I can call them. They can call that guy. They can call me. This guy can call me, that guy. We squared the number of phone calls that you can make by adding one more to the network. Every time we add one more, we exponentially increase the value of that network. And so while we're building this mine, while we're building out these liquidity pools, we're building out our community. That's the reason why we pay out so much in commission, because we know that anybody can build a mine. Any rich guy, any hedge fund, any bank can build a mine. But if they don't have the community of people that are advocating for the success of that currency, they got nothing. We're building a mine. We're building a currency. We're building a community. We're building liquidity pools. When those things come together, you've got a healthy system, just like what we have today. And so we're following our move up schedule. In fact, we're getting drastically close to adding our next $5 million of liquidity, far ahead of the end of November 2025 goal. And then we'll take a look at $5.29 per coin. And the market will react, and they'll either agree that we're on to something big, or they'll push back and they'll dump, and we'll have to buy it back. We may even have to tap into those liquidity reserves that we've got. But so far, so good. Healthy system across the board, very encouraging. But you got to remember that we're not stopping there. 16 is not the ceiling. It's just the launch pad. If we reach 16 by February of 2026, it won't be the end. It'll just be that we proved that this model worked. We had a model. We stuck to it. Did it work? Yes or no? It means our strategy works, and TXC now has $1 billion market cap. It means we're on the list of 100 largest cryptos. It means that our decentralized community, without coercion or central backing, can build and sustain real value. From there, we don't stop, we expand. But where do we go next? Well, I penned an article, and this is kind of more of what I want to talk about tonight, called The Path to 80 by February of 2026. And people say, okay, well, when does the deviation begin? You've published a new article. It's called 80. You said it's about the same time. When does it happen? When can we expect that to happen? Well, in that article, there's no revised move up strategy. There's no new chart in there that shows you how much liquidity and what the price is. All I do in this article is I showcase a bunch of other market valuations related to the sales or the profitability. We take a look at other crypto projects in the past that have raised cash and where they are today. I believe today, and guys, fact check me on this one. I believe that today we are now the third largest crypto project raise in the history of the industry. Check it out. We are now $1,010,000 away from being $100 million project. And that, my friends, is breathtaking. Real charts, real data, updated real time, right here on our dashboard for everyone to see, everyone to admire, everyone to make fun of, everyone to evaluate. But wow, $1,010,000 away from $100 million raise. Unbelievable. But if you look at some of these other big projects, EOS raised $4 billion. They're almost nothing today. Telegram, huge. Ethereum, huge. Binance, huge. And we're on track to be just as good, if not better than many of those. But 80 makes a lot more sense than 16 because we've got a clear mission and leadership. We've got infrastructure, liquidity, marketing budgets. We've got a community. We'll have the second largest community in cryptocurrency outside of Bitcoin. Is Robbie Rue here? Interfering? Hi, Rob. We've got so much going for us. That means that we're going to be so much more valuable than just the value of our coin. It's hard to put an exact date or time or target on when that happens. But here's the thing. For us to explode, for the lid to pop off the project here, we only have to get lucky one time. And that's a really important concept because we're putting all this money out there for advertising, the airports, the billboards, the radio shows, the sponsorships, all this stuff. We're doing so much. And it only has to get caught by the right person once, whether they're a reporter for a news station or they are a journalist or they're an editor for something or they're interested in writing articles about financial technology or they're an influencer that's got 2 million people on their YouTube or TikTok or Instagram page. We only have to get lucky once. That's what we call earned media. Bought media, purchased media is the stuff that we pay for. Billboards, radio ads, all that stuff. Earned media means somebody saw us, somebody likes us, somebody wants to do a story on us. And we only have to get lucky once. Then the cat's out of the bag, the lid pops, and $80 is a foregone conclusion. It puts us at a 5x valuation over what we raised. 16 proves that we're real. 80 proves that we belong at the top. And so we paint the picture here of why it's important for you to understand that we're not stopping at 16. That's a really important concept because anybody that's joining us today doesn't want to know that we're going to 16. At $4, that's only a 4x return. It's still hard to find 4x returns in like the real world. But if you're not doing at least a 10 or 100x in crypto, you're boring. So the guys that are jumping on the rocket at 4, they don't want to know that we're going to slow down and coast when it gets to 16. No, that's just the beginning. Okay, well, where do I really think we can go? I really think that 800 is an incredibly realistic path. Why? Phase 2. Phase 2 is where real utility begins. Phase 2, you could also call it layer 2. I had a great meeting yesterday with McKinney Chamber of Commerce, and we talked all about downtown digital dollars. I said, look, I'm going to tell you the story of TEXITcoin. I'm going to tell you my background, how we got to where we are today, but I'm not really promoting this story. TEXITcoin is the foundation. It's the It's the bedrock of downtown digital dollars. And if you were any other city, I'd be talking about downtown digital dollars. But because we're here in McKinney and we've got all these TEXITcoin cars wrapped in McKinney, because we got the TEXITcoin balloon floating overhead while we're having this conversation, we have to talk about this 3,000-pound TEXITcoin elephant in the room. So I told him the story about TEXITcoin, but I said, but really where the rubber hits the road is with what we call downtown digital dollars. Downtown digital dollars is our layer 2. It's our phase 2. It's us taking our network, this very reliable, redundant, mission critical supporting network, this decentralized data processing network, and using it to build real world benefits for small businesses all across, well, everywhere, but initially all across downtown McKinney. And they loved it. It just went over really well. They said, what do you need from us? And I said, well, really nothing. When we're talking about downtown digital dollars in our phase 2 and getting people to actually use this thing as a way to exchange value, not have 3% skimmed off the top by the banks, and keep money local in town, we've got 3 paths to roll this out. We've got the front door, we've got the back door, and we've got the side door. The front door is working through the mayor's office, through the city council, through the Economic Development Corporation, kind of like what we were doing in Gonzales way back in the early days, talking about downtown digital and community currencies. That's when they roll out the red carpet for us. And we're really going to have that happen at a lot of small towns, small towns that really need our help, really need an economic impact from our solution. They'll roll out the red carpet for us. McKinney, we're not really asking for it because McKinney's big. In fact, McKinney might be the largest downtown historic cultural district in the state. It's a leader in the small business world. It's lots and lots of great things. And I said, but you got to remember that we can always go through the back door. The back door is going direct to the merchants, going direct to the business owner. I don't need any permission from anybody to trade anytime with anyone. If I want to exchange digital currency with the owner of the coffee shop, or I want to trade pizzas for boutique clothing at the shop next door, I can trade anytime I want. It's a lot more work to go through the back door, but we can do that. We've done it before. We know how to do that. And the side door, of course, is going through the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce is the representation of the business community to the city. They're kind of the bridge between the municipality and the small business community. They are the advocates for the small business and their success in town. The Chamber is very excited about what we have to offer. We've introduced the possibility of becoming a chairman level sponsorship for the McKinney Chamber of Commerce. And they said, we've got to get it approved by the board. And so that's underway right now, which is really exciting. But if it doesn't work out, there's another town, or we go through the back door. We keep trying the doors until we're successful. But that's phase 2. Phase 1 is we build this network. We build a big, robust, reliable, decentralized network. Well, what are you going to do with your network? We're going to build applications on top of it that are designed to keep money in town, save merchants and business owners money, and help transactions speed up with unstoppable money. Everyone can get behind honest money. That's honest money for small towns. Done. Easy. This is actually what I know how to do. So I'm very excited about phase 2. But the question is, what does phase 2 bring us? Phase 2 brings us up to $800 a coin. That's my best guess. When? Next year. We're wrapping up phase 1 now. We're working on finishing up the software and the code and the tech that we need to roll out the phase 2, layer 2 digital token systems on the TXE blockchain. But there's a lot more that has to go into explaining why this number is actually realistic, because this number really matters. I'll show you in a minute why this number matters. But I lay out like an 11 or 12 part article here that talks about like how we got to where we are today. And then what happened with the breakthrough of cryptocurrency. The early adopters, the Bitcoin bros, saw the scarcity, but not the purpose. They saw the Lambo, not the ledger. They speculated, traded, cashed out. They're too busy refreshing their exchange balances to notice this beautiful financial technology that allows individuals to finally remove banks from the currency conversation. Part 3 goes on to talk about layer 1 and layer 2, the foundation, TEXITcoin, the backbone, the integrity, the mind, the proof of work. Layer 2 then becomes the innovation. The dollar-backed stable coins that the new administration has paved the way for us to roll this out in small towns across the country. Now, you take a small town, even a town like McKinney that's huge. You say, well, $5 million of community currency is nothing. Yeah, it's small. But you bundle together 300 of those on the Made in America blockchain layer 2, and all of a sudden, excuse me, out of nowhere, you got a $1.5 billion coin on our layer 2. Our layer 2 will be almost a top 50 crypto just by bundling together a couple hundred small downtown community currencies running across the state of Texas. That's it. The market that everybody else is ignoring, no one's even thinking about it, all of a sudden becomes bundled together in a top 50 crypto just on our layer 2. Let's move on. Now, see, I kind of have these two backwards, and I have them backwards here because you can go either way. You can start on either one of them. But I want to start with festivals because festivals are happening all over the place, and we already have festival relationships all over the country. And those festivals usually operate with an alternative currency. You know, a fair or festival is one of those places where everyone's just automatically comfortable using an alternative currency. No one's sitting there yelling and screaming, "End the Fed." Nobody's sitting there screaming about how the banks are ripping them off, and that's why they're using paper tickets inside of the festival. They're using paper tickets because the festival wants to be able to track where that money's going. And so you go into a festival and you get your paper tickets, and it's an alternative currency that you use for turkey legs and for corn dogs and for funnel cakes and for all kinds of stuff. And that's just how it works at the festival. This is the same community that we've been working with for years through the I.A.F.E, the International Association of Fairs and Expositions. Their big event is coming up in just another month or so. And guess who's going to be there? Let's pull up their website here real quick just to show you what we're talking about. Look, these aren't no-name things. And this isn't a tiny industry. How big are oh, I don't know what's happening there. My keyboard just died. How big is the fair and festival industry? Right now, it's a $75 billion industry. They're saying by 2032, it'll go to $150 billion. And we're going to be there at the event promoting our business, talking about our solution, talking about how people can use the Made in America blockchain to make in-event payments and ticketing faster, easier, more fun, gamifiable, and ultimately more honest and straightforward. It's a really important thing. And so whether we start with the fairs and festivals or we start with the towns, it doesn't really matter because this is our phase 2. This is our layer 2. This is what blockchain gives us. Blockchain gives us the ability to easily transact with our own currency. We don't have to go through the banks. They don't have to skim 3% off the top every time somebody swipes or taps. And so now that all of a sudden we look at part 6, you bundle these things together. Next thing you know, we've got a top 100 crypto on our layer 2. Then we connect with mainstreet.org. Now, all of a sudden, this layer 2 is spreading outwards all throughout the country through the fairs and festivals. You do the math on how much is carried across our rails on our network. And we say, if we take just a tiny percentage of that, we'll have billions of dollars annually flowing through our in-event ticketing system application, which we call, TXE blockchain. We give ourselves a little bit of a fair multiplier, and we get to $800 per coin. It's not speculation, it's arithmetic. We always want our vision and our math to be aligned. But here's where it really starts to get exciting. We talk about scarcity versus purpose. The crypto industry has scarcity. We've got purpose. We've got a mission. We've got a Made in America blockchain. At 16, we proved that we're real and we did the right thing. At 80, we proved that we're big and we need to be paid attention to. And at 800, we'll prove that this whole theory of mine is right. Is it a long shot? Sure, of course it is. But we got to shoot for something. And now we've got momentum. We've got a proven system. We've got a lot going for us today. And the reason this all matters is because you still have, at this moment right now, even if you haven't put your money down on the line yet, you still have a path to TEXITcoin millionaire. You still have a path with TEXITcoin. It's not too late. A lot of people are like, well, I didn't get in at 2 cents, so I missed that 100x return. Yeah, you did. Maybe you heard about it, maybe you didn't. Maybe you were introduced to it, maybe you weren't. Maybe you saw it and you passed on it back then. Maybe you're thinking about it again now. It doesn't matter. Those guys that got in super early, some of them are cashing out along the way and buying houses. I know this for a fact. But still today, it's early enough to become a millionaire. You need 1,250 coins, and we need to get to $800 a coin. How do we get there? I've got a plan. Now, the $800 plan today is just as far-fetched and unreasonable as the $16 plan was a year and a half ago. Let me say that again. It's just as ludicrous today to talk about an $800 goal as it was a year and a half ago to talk about a $16 goal. Think about it. Going from 16 all the way from 2.8 cents, let's do the math on it, was a 571x return. So we opened up at 2.8 cents. To go from 2.8 cents to $16 is a 571x multiple. Now, okay, well, are you at 16 today? Why, no, you're not. Let's take the $4 that we are at today, divided by 2.8. It's 142x. So to go from 4 to 800 divided by 4 is a 200x. So we are at 142x from where we started. Can we 200x again to go from $4 to $800? I believe the answer is yes. I'd like you to read my article on phase 2 and draw your own conclusion. Because if I'm right and you acquire or you earn through the mining program 1,250 coins, TEXITcoins, at $800, they're worth a cool $1,000,000. And it's as unrealistic and impossible to think and dream about it today as it was a year and a half ago to dream about TEXITcoin getting to 16. We've hit every goal ahead of schedule towards our path, on our path towards our goal. Is it possible that we can go to 800? I think so. But you got to draw your own conclusion. And if you think that we're right, if you think that we have a good plan, if you think we're being honest, then put your money on the line. Jump in and join us. I think you'll be glad that you did. And we're not stopping at 800. That's phase 3. Phase 3 takes this little system that we've built and replicates it across the globe. Once we prove how proof of work mining should be done with limitations so that the mine doesn't have to grow forever and make it impossible to profitably participate in the issuance of your own currency, once we prove that model to be successful here, the rest of the world needs it and will desperately want it. We replicate 4 more times: Southeast Asia, Eastern Europe, South America, and Africa. And now we'll have 500 million megahash in our total network, each network supporting the other network, replicating this again and again and again. That's how we go to number 3. Bitcoin, Ethereum, TEXITcoin. Think it's impossible? Think $2,800 is a joke? Well, a lot of people thought that $4 was a joke. All of us were scared. We had to take a blood pact. The whales weren't going to cash out when we hit $1 and crash this whole thing. Dollar came and went. $2 came and went. $3 came and went. We hit $7 recently. And the market keeps chugging along. Why? Because we've got a plan. And our plan doesn't involve influencers. It doesn't involve pumps. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's not a Ponzi. It's not a pyramid. It's not a rug pull. It's not a meme. It's none of those things that everyone will tell you it is for sure. We've got something unique, and I think it's great. And I think I've been able to successfully take a bunch of ordinary people and do something truly extraordinary. It's called TEXITcoin, and I'm the guy that's lucky enough to call himself the founder. I'm Bobby Gray, and I'm really glad that you joined me for this rare Thursday night. Hopefully you get to connect with Byron next week and hear his story about apples and manure and orchards and all that stuff. But I want to hear your stories. There's so many great people involved. Texacoin, I've finally really come to terms with how far and wide Texacoin has gone with changing lives. I hear stories from people all over the world about how, being a part of Texacoin has had a positive impact on their lives. And that is what drives me, if you want to know. So we'll hear from Byron next week, hopefully Davey the week after that, and lots of other great people that are becoming Rangers, that are joining us in leadership positions to continue sharing our story with the world and inviting everyone to participate in this beautiful thing called Texacoin, which is what happens when a financial technology that's as cool as cryptocurrency meets something that's as important and life-changing as honest money. We put those two together, we get Texacoin, and we can change the world. I'm Bobby Gray. Thanks so much for joining me on this Thursday night edition of Introduction to Texacoin, and I'll catch you guys maybe tomorrow in Baton Rouge at the Locktoberfest event with Davy Jones, or maybe on Saturday in Austin at the Game Over giveaway party next door to the Formula One race. Or I'll catch you back here on Tuesday night for our next miners update, where we've got lots of great new information about what's happening with the mine. Thanks again for joining me, and everyone have a great night. Talk to you.